Welcome back to the Week 7 college football playoff predictions, and let's get right into it with the top 25 rankings. At number 25, coming back into the rankings, is Notre Dame. They suffered those two early losses to Ohio State and Marshall. They've bounced back with a close win over Cal. Then BYU this week. Of course, they went to North Carolina. They've already had their bye week, and the schedule ramps up. They've got a test with Clemson in a couple weeks, but first they'll play Stanford. Of course, they've got USC down the road. This could be a good Notre Dame team if they can win out when it's all said and done. They play one of the toughest schedules in the nation, perhaps 3 playoff teams if USC, Clemson, and Ohio State are all in it until the end. But we'll have to see. Notre Dame will have to take it one step at a time. They're on to a solid start after that BYU win at the neutral site. Number 24, we've got Utah. Suffered their second loss of the season at UCLA. You'll see UCLA further up the rankings. This week, they've got a tough showdown with USC at home. Number 23, Purdue enters the rankings as a 2-loss Big Ten team. The 2 losses are close to Syracuse on the road and at home to Penn State. So we'll see how good Penn State really is as they play Michigan this week. Number 22, another team entering the rankings is Illinois. They're 5-1. Their only loss was at Indiana, and it was early on. This Illinois team is very good. They've got a test against Minnesota this week, so we'll have to see what happens in that game. But Illinois or Purdue look to be in the driver's seat in the west of the Big Ten. Number 21, we've got Kansas. After suffering the loss, they drop a few spots, but the way they fought against a very good TCU team was promising. I think this Kansas team is deserving of that 21 spot. Then we've got number 20, Kansas State. Took care of business in a really close game against Iowa State, but it was on the road. Iowa State has a gritty defense. They don't score very much, though, but it's always tough to win against that squad. And then number 19, Tulane, stays on the winning track, and they'll stay above the team that they gave the loss to. So Tulane beat Kansas State, so that's why we have them here. Then number 18, Syracuse, was off last week. They move up a couple spots just from other teams dropping. Number 17, Mississippi State put up a show against Arkansas. This is one of the highest rated teams in terms of game control because their only loss to LSU, they really choked that in the end. A lot of people are jumping on this Mississippi State bandwagon. They go to Kentucky this week in what should be a good game there. AP has Kentucky ranked for that showdown. I do not. I think Mississippi State will win that one, but it'll be a good game nonetheless. And we've got 16, Oregon continues to take care of business. They've got an off week and then a massive Pac-12 showdown against UCLA. Number 15, Texas absolutely blew out Oklahoma in historic fashion in the Red River Showdown. We'll have to see what happens as they go down the stretch here in the season. I think this Texas team is looking like the favorite out of the Big 12 with Cam Ewers back. Number 14, we've got NC State battled back to beat FSU and hand FSU their second straight loss. They've got a showdown with Syracuse this week. That should be another good game. All these great ACC games happening down the middle of the season. Number 13, Wake Forest blew up Army last week, so they maintain their positioning. Number 12, Penn State did not play. They maintain their positioning coming into a massive showdown at Michigan. It's nice for them to get some rest, so we get a representative sample in that massive game in the Big Ten. Number 11, Ole Miss took care of business against Vanderbilt this weekend, so they maintain their position in the SEC. Of course, Kentucky's loss sends them down a little bit because Ole Miss's win over Kentucky doesn't look as good anymore, so they fall a couple spots because of that, but they've got another easy week, and then the schedule starts to ramp up for this Ole Miss team. Number 10, we've got TCU here after their win over Kansas on the road. That was a massive game, and now they go into another massive showdown against Oklahoma State in what will be a massive game for the Big 12 Conference Championship. The winner is all but locked in. Then we've got USC coming off the massive win over Washington State at home. Again, they've got a showdown with Utah in the mountains there. Let's move on to the top 8 teams, and we start with UCLA coming off that big game over Utah and a big win. They've had quite the 2-week stretch. They get a bye week, and then they go on the road for the first time this season to Oregon in that aforementioned game. Number 7, Oklahoma State, of course, plays TCU this week. That is a big game, as we just said. Oklahoma State struggled a little bit with Texas Tech at home this week, but they ended up getting it done. Spencer Sanders and co. continue to roll in the Big 12. Number 6, Michigan rolled this week again over Indiana. We'll see what they present against Penn State. Number 5, Tennessee moves up big after that massive win over LSU. Move up to number 5, of course, that showdown, College game day against number 1 Alabama should be a great game. Number 4, Clemson doesn't really move much after their win over Boston College. Number 3, Georgia also does not move much, and Ohio State also does not move much after their win at Michigan State, a Michigan State team that has been struggling like most of the Big Ten. And then Alabama, of course, without their starting quarterback Young, had a sticky game with A&M, but I'm going to keep them at number 1 just because not many teams could survive a game like that without their starting quarterback. The metrics love Bama too, but we'll have to see what happens with this showdown at Tennessee to see if they're really deserving of that number 1 ranking. Let's move into the bowl predictions. The college football playoff stays the same pretty much from last week. I switched Alabama and Georgia. Georgia goes to the Fiesta Bowl now. Alabama to the Peach Bowl. Other than that, games stay the same. UCLA obviously jumps into the Rose Bowl or Oregon with that win over Utah. And then Tennessee flops with Ole Miss to be in the Sugar Bowl now just by virtue of their seeding. Thank you for watching. Please be sure to drop your predictions and comments below.